I'm Joe Surin. I'm the pastor of Horizon Church in Phoenix, Arizona. We're in Ahwatukee in the foothills just south of the metro area. Each Thursday, I spend the morning with your pastor and 3 other pastors as we prepare our morning sermons for Sunday. Today, I want to share with you one of my favorite Christmas songs, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. It comes from the video, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. The Grinch Stealing Christmas may work as a title for maybe half of this video, but the second half, definitely we see in the end that it's God who steals the heart of the Grinch. The Grinch lives high atop a mountain just north of Whoville, a small town filled with happy holidayers cheerfully looking forward to Christmas. Unlike the people of Whoville, the Grinch hated Christmas. And as the narrator is looking for reasons why this might be, he ponders, it could be that his shoes were too tight. It could be that his head was not screwed on right. But it turns out in the end that the reason the Grinch hated Christmas was because his heart was 2 sizes too small. So he starts thinking, not a good sign for someone named the Grinch. And in his thinking, he gets the idea. He gets an awful idea. He gets a wonderful, awful idea. And he begins to believe that if he stole all the things that go with Christmas, he could steal Christmas. He could take away those heartfelt celebrations that come each year with Christmas. So in his thinking, he devises a plan. Then he and his dog Max take their sled down the mountain to Whoville with plans to steal all the decorations, the gifts, and the food of the Whos, all a part of his plan to end Christmas. He took everything, Dr. Seuss says, including the last can of Who hash. He took even a morsel too small for a mouse. And in the Grinch story, it wouldn't be the same without mentioning little Cindy Lou Who. Who, because the Grinch's heart needs some repair, lies to little Cindy Lou Who, as well as the scene of him stealing candy from babies while they sleep. Well, after loading his sled with all the things he stole, he heads back to the Grinch's home high above Whoville. He thought in the process, and he continued to think, that by taking away the material things, there would be nothing left of Christmas. The people of Whoville actually supported what every preacher has said, reminding his flock that Christmas isn't about the material, that it's more about presence in the midst of presence, presence with a C in the midst of presence with a T, hoping, not wishing, peace in the midst of pressure, forgiveness in the midst of sin. And that is what our focus should be. For instead of crying and complaining, what happens in our story is the Grinch hears rejoicing coming from the town people of Whoville. No, it wasn't the things and the ribbons and the bows. It was the heart of Christmas that kept people living in joy. So getting back to our story, at this point, the Grinch gets up to his home just atop the town of Whoville, and he begins to listen. And he was listening for those sorrowful sounds. And instead, he heard singing. And he didn't understand this. Christmas came without ribbons and tags. Christmas came without packages, boxes, and bags. And then my favorite line of the whole movie, Christmas doesn't come from a store. And that is when the Grinch's heart grew 3 times the size, they say, that day. The human condition isn't much different for the Grinch than it is for us. For from birth, we think so often or so much about living for ourselves. Instead of letting God fill our lives, filling it with the virtues of hope and peace and joy and love, we often think about filling it with things that we want and what we need instead of others. We often mention people as having big hearts, never small hearts. But for most of us, if we were to confess, we know that all of our hearts could grow just a little more, bigger than where they are. In these virtues, and in generosity, our hearts could use some growth, maybe a size or 2 more. But this is what Advent and Christmas is all about. This time of year gives us an opportunity to reflect. Looking back to 2020, most of us would not want to repeat this year. However, there certainly are many moments to celebrate. 2020, it is true, was part of a pandemic that we haven't seen for over 100 years. But that's not all it was about. Many can look back and see how God has worked in our lives. And we have this opportunity now between today and the end of the year to reflect on 2020, to think about the growth and the courage and the persevering that we have been a part of. And now we look forward to a new year and the blessings of God that we can say goodbye to 2020 and move into 2021. And as we are moving into this transition into a new year, there is an opportunity to change. There will be change coming anyways. We don't know what's going to come. No one can predict what 2021 will look like. But we must remember that although we are not in control of our future and about the future of the lives of others, no more than the Grinch had the power to change the people of Whoville. He tried and he couldn't. We have to remember that change comes from within when we allow God to do things in our lives, especially things that have never been done before. We have the freedom, the Scripture teaches, to let God's power change us, our actions, and our beliefs. In the story How the Grinch Stole Christmas, we see symbols of hope. We see that hope overcomes evil. Again, we thank God for the 365 days of 2020. And now we thank Him also for a new year, a time of newness and restarting. But let's not go into 2021 without reflecting on our own hearts, reflecting on whether or not our hearts personally need to grow. Does your heart need to grow? 1 time larger? 2 times larger? How about even 3 in this new year? All of us can benefit from a heart checkup. It's never too late. And like the Grinch, we can impact our homes, our community, in our world with our changed hearts and watch others as their hearts change as well. May God bless you and yours in 2021.